Welcome to the Behind Their Business podcast. If this is your first time listening, or if you are an avid listener, welcome back to the show. Today, our guest is going to share about having the courage to quit her 9 to 5, even though she wanted to get pregnant really badly. And she knew that fertility treatments would be very expensive. So you can imagine that had to be a very scary thing that she was going through at that time, a very scary decision that she had to make. But she is also going to discuss how she started her business while she had her baby, who is just a few days old, and how it's been to juggle work, nannies, and mom guilt. I know a lot of people have been wanting to hear from more moms on the show and hear about the things that moms go through. So I'm really excited to have her on. And in her business, our guest is a business coach who helps women start and scale their service-based businesses so they can have more freedom, which, as you guys know, that's exactly what I do as well. So we have a lot that we can talk about today. We have a lot of commonalities, which is amazing. And a really fun fact that I am very jealous of is that she lives between Bali and Europe with her husband and daughter, which I'm just, that's the dream right there. So please welcome to the show, Dovile Sinke. I hope I said that right. Correct me. Is that right?
Hey.
Hi. So glad that you are here.
I'm very excited to be here, and thanks for this amazing introduction. I always say the grass is greener on the other side, right?
Yeah, it really is. That's so true. So let's just dive in. So I know you were working in corporate banking for a long time. So let's talk about what that experience was like and how you got the courage to leave that 9 to 5 and then go full time in your business. Can you share your story a bit?
Of course. So I worked in banking, and then I moved onto consulting in Zurich, in Switzerland, for 8 years. And, just following the usual path, thinking, I graduate from the best universities. So I went to university in Sweden, then I got a job in Switzerland. And I thought, that's it. My life's figured out. I guess a lot of people can recognize it. But something was still missing. I would keep on going to work and just thinking, okay, is that it? I'll just, get maybe a promotion and I'll be able to buy a better bag. Like, what does it give me actually? So I wasn't really happy. And especially because my husband, he was in a startup world, he would always be in that more dynamic community. So I would be jealous of him, coming back home from my corporate office. I was at one point on a trading floor. So, just like loads of computers, as you could imagine. And he's just, seems so relaxed and chilled and having more freedom, even though we still lived in Switzerland. And I kept wondering, is there something more available for me? So that's when, but I think I wonder, I was living with this thought for probably 4 years, if not more, but never having enough courage to probably quit and take the risk until I did. But it took me probably 4, if not more years to just go live with that thought.
I can relate to that. It took me 3 years before I did it. And I don't know, but the breaking point for me was when I had my son. So I was like, I don't have another option right now. It's either we find daycare and I go back to my job, or I quit right now. So I can completely relate to that. And also, fun fact, I have family in Switzerland. So I've been there a couple of times, and it is the most beautiful country for anybody who has never been there. So beautiful. But anyway, so how did you finally, like, what was the breaking point for this 9 to 5? Was there something specific that happened, or were you just like, you know what, if I'm gonna do it, I have to do it at some point?
Mm-hmm. I think there were when I think back, there were a couple of things that were just signs from universe for me that I have to change. So I had this really bad accident that I was just overworked, overstressed, and I fell down and I hurt myself really bad. So I had to go to hospital. So that was one thing. The other thing, I really like a really close colleague next to me. I mean, basically he died, and because he got sick and really, really fast, like within 2 weeks, he was gone. So that was again like a point for, and he was just sitting next to me in these big offices, so really I was sharing a desk with him. And when I saw that, I just also figured out life is too short. So there were like many little signs like that happening all over. And I just felt, that's it. I think the last point was when we went to Bali with my husband, more for holiday, but we said, okay, we're gonna go to one festival. So I attended a breathwork session, which was completely new for me. I was never into mindset back then or anything like that. And during that exercise, I think I started crying, and a person next to me, he told me like, why are you crying? Can you share what's coming up for you? And the word just came out of my mind, of my mouth, that I said, because I'm not living my own life. And I think that was really like, it got me to the point where I said, the same night we were having dinner with my husband in Bali, and we said, you know what, in 3 or 4 months, I'm going to quit my job and we're going to come back to Bali, because living is cheaper than staying in Zurich. And we'll just figure out a way for us. And that's what we did then.
That's so incredible. That's well, first of all, I'm so sorry to hear about your coworker. That's such a terrible story, but unfortunately, it happens way too often, especially when you're put in very stressful situations. It just does terrible things for your body. So I love that you had the courage to just go for it and go all in. Now, can you share a little bit about your pregnancy journey as well, and how that kind of all tied into it?
Mm-hmm. So as I told you, like that, it took me 4 years to probably quit and take that decision to finally see what all these signs were telling me. I think the past 2 years, it was that I already wanted to quit, but I had this strategy in mind that saying, okay, I will quit while I'm on my maternity leave. Because, I will still, like, even though in Switzerland, we get probably a little bit more than we get 4 months of maternity leave. So I thought it's still, I'm getting paid for those 4 months. So then I will leave. And I was waiting to get pregnant, but it just wasn't happening. So I waited 1 year, then the second year, and it wasn't happening. And then I said, okay, that was also at the point when we decided that I have to just quit. And no matter what happens, I'll figure out, what I do with my pregnancy, what I'll do with my maternity leave. I'll figure out a way to pay for that. But I just can't wait any longer, because I don't know, what if I can't get pregnant at all, right? Then I will just keep waiting for 10 years or longer. So I really wanted to quit, but that was holding me back. The thought of, okay, or my plan to get like that, getting pregnant and everything figure out. So I wasn't getting pregnant. And that was the point when we packed our bags for the first time to leave to Bali, like for 6 months. And when we got back from Bali, I was still not pregnant, but I no longer had a job. But then I said, you know what? I have to take also this into my hands. So I'm going to seek for fertility treatments. And once I told you, like, yes, I knew that's going to be expensive. But again, we said, we'll just figure it out. Like things. And we were just really in the beginning of our journey, entrepreneurial journey. We haven't, we had one business that we had started, but we hadn't had monetized it at that point. So really we had no income, plus going on all the treatments and being back in Zurich, paying expensive rent and everything. But I think that's also like a beautiful place where you just figure things out. You have to get out of that situation. So
yeah, it's like you just completely surrendered. You're like, you know what, universe, here I am. I'm ready. Show me what I need to do. And I think it's just so beautiful that you just allowed yourself that space too. So I know you mentioned that you had your business, or you and your husband had a business. So did you start a business while you were in your 9 to 5, or did you start it when you were done? Like, what was your business journey like?
Mm-hmm. So we kind of started a little bit when I was still in my 9 to 5. So let's say if we say we started, that was January, and I quit in June. So we started, and he already, our side hustle that we called it back then, we didn't know what it's gonna be. Actually, we were just we will start vlogging, just our journey of getting online money. That was the initial plan, and kind of things evolved. But so for probably a good half a year, I was working every weekend and every night after my job. But that was really exhausting as well. And then we said, okay, this is the point where we have to make a decision. If we really believe in our business and if we really believe in ourselves, that means we have to show it as well. And I have to quit, and we both have to get ourselves 100% on this. For us, that was needed. And that's, we took that decision, and that's what I said. We packed our things to Bali.
Great. That's amazing. So I know you said that you are a coach for service providers. So I'm assuming you had a service-based business too before you did that?
Yes. So that was the first business that we did that I mentioned here. Was more an affiliate-based business, a website, and we work with different brands. So, but out of that, we figured that we're really strong at SEO. That's how we got most of the traffic to our site, and we started monetizing that. So we started, we still, like I say, we created it together with my husband, but since then I also went on another thing. Like I started a different business myself. So the SEO agency is now run by my husband, but we started together, and I was working there for 1.5 years until we set it up. We got enough clients. And yeah.
Okay. That makes sense now. So you were blogging and you learned SEO. Yeah, which is a very difficult thing to learn. So that's great. I feel like it's changing every day, but I don't know too much about that. Now, let's talk about your daughter. So when was she born, and how does she kind of tie into this? And if you are comfortable sharing about your fertility journey and whatnot, I would love for you to share that. But of course, if you're not, then
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it up to you.
No worries. I'm actually open about that, because I know for me was also a very difficult time. Like all these 2 years when I was not getting pregnant, I didn't share with anyone. And I would just keep seeing all my friends getting pregnant. And every time I would ask them, like, so how did it work out for you? And they all would tell me the same, like, oh, we just decided to. So the next month I got pregnant. And I would be like, oh, just hits me to the wall, just. So I know when I opened up, a lot of women came to me and they told me, wow, thank you, because I was feeling the same. And I just felt that I'm the only person in the world. So yes, we started our fertility treatments, and it took us 2 treatment cycles with the hormone injections and IUI, like treatment. But then I got pregnant, and my daughter was born in Switzerland.
That's amazing. And how old is she now?
So she just turned 2 a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
And that's what,
yay.
so yeah, we were in Bali the past 6 months, and for her 2-year-old birthday, we wanted to get back to Lithuania, where we're originally from and where our families are, so that we can celebrate, so we can bring the granddaughter to our parents.
Oh, I'm sure they love that. That's great. That's so great. And yes, I'm so glad that you shared that, because you're right. A lot of people who are going through that journey, I've interviewed people in the past who have talked about miscarriages and problems with fertility as well. And I've had people reach out to me too, just saying, thank you so much for sharing these stories of other people, because it makes me feel not alone. So thank you for sharing that and just showing other people that they are not alone. More women go through this than we think. But one other thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up is mom guilt. So I have personally experienced this a couple of times, actually not as many as I thought I would. I most recently had a very bad experience with this, where my son was literally banging on my door wanting to come into my office, and I'm just sitting in here crying because all he wanted to do was snuggle. And I did snuggle, but he just didn't want the snuggling to stop, but I had a call to be on. So that was a very recent experience for me. And I know that a lot of other moms, especially moms who have businesses, struggle with this as well. So can you share your experience with mom guilt, what it's been like to juggle work, juggle nannies, and just mom business life in general?
Yeah, for sure. So when my daughter was born, I had like a little bit of baby blues as well. And I was also still working in the agency for the clients. So I remember I just got back from hospital and I knew because like I didn't expect my daughter to come a little bit early. So I haven't had finished up some client work. So I was really, like trying to work, then also trying to figure everything out. And it was just really difficult time. And at the same time, you start getting those, because I'm quite open and like I share a lot on social media. So I would start getting all these crazy messages that like, oh, why are you bringing your daughter out to the sun? Do you know it's not good for her? Or like, why are you carrying her in a carrier? And all of those comments. So everything would just, come to you and it's just too much. You can't handle it anymore, and all the stress and everything. So yeah, so that was difficult. But then talking about mom guilt and everything that I went through, so basically I made a decision quite early that I'm gonna get support and get nanny for my kids, so that I can, because I know I'm the happiest when I'm creating something. And back at then I was also launching my community for moms back in Lithuania. So but that wasn't easy, the decision to get a nanny, because I'll explain. So basically, when my daughter was 4 months old, we moved back to Lithuania, where I'm originally from, so that she could, as a base for our, all the other travels and everything. And in Lithuania, you get 2 years of maternity leave, which is really crazy, like
That
for
is
Americans. And yeah,
insane.
and that's
2 years.
insane. But like since I lived in Switzerland for the past 8 years, I only knew the way that you get 4 months of maternity leave. If you're happy, if you're lucky, maybe that's 6 months, and then you move on, kind of, because you have to go. There is no other way. So I felt, especially being back in Lithuania, I felt a lot of guilt, probably myself, and like critics from other people, because the norm is that from the society that you are there with your kid and you do basically, you take care 100% of her plus the house and everything else on your own without any support. And I knew that wasn't for me. Like it was, I knew I'm in my best creating. I really had the desire to create, to launch my new business, to help others in that way, and then dedicate myself fully to my daughter as well in those hours that where after work, kind of, more quality time rather than quantity. But I felt a lot of that, the critic from others, or maybe it was also just me taking in, thinking, oh, maybe they weren't even like telling that to me publicly, but I would just feel that, oh, maybe I'm a bad mom because I'm not doing that, because I see everyone else is sitting at home like until the kid is 2 years old. So but still I kept to that. I think my husband helped me a lot, because he was saying, look, but you know yourself, and you give the best to your daughter that way as well, just by being lucky and being happy and just creating, being in your zone of genius. So yeah, but that wasn't easy as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's so important. I feel like a lot of the times when people or women have children, they kind of forget about themselves. They forget who they are. And that happened to me for a while. I felt like I was a mom first, a wife second, and a business owner third. Like my identity just kind of completely shifted after I had him. And I know a lot of women go through that same thing. And especially in a country like Lithuania, where it's kind of expected for you to take 2 years off if you have your own business, that I'm assuming maternity leave doesn't really apply if it's your own business. I mean, I don't know how that would work unless the country funds it. I don't know. But
Yeah, no, it doesn't apply. Yeah.
yeah. No,
So
that's a lot. That's a I can understand why you felt really guilty when you were seeing maybe some friends or family members staying home with their kids while you were wanting to work and just kind of fill your own cup, right? And I personally don't think there's anything wrong with
mhm.
that. Are you glad that you made that decision?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
I'm
good.
definitely glad about that. And I was thinking, again, maybe some of the business decisions, they didn't go as well, because I also felt like I'm putting so much pressure that everything that I'm doing just has to work out, because I'm taking the time away from my daughter. So whatever I do, it just has to be 150% perfect. When I'm now like I realize that it doesn't have to be that way. Like, also all the lessons that we go through in our lives, that's such an amazing experience that we use it in any other way. So but it also took me some time to realize that, and just to be okay with myself. So I worked a lot with my coach, like a mindset coach that I have. So there were a lot of sessions that we had just about the mom guilt, and just saying, okay, but where are you happy and what brings you joy? And yeah,
Yeah,
just
no, I think,
juggling those topics.
yeah, and I think that's necessary to talk about with whatever mentor you're working with, because life and business, they're not separate. It's one thing. You are one person. Sure, you're a mom, but you're also a business owner. So we need to figure out ways to marry those two together in a really, really nice way so that you don't have to struggle from this guilt, right? It's also, I like to view it as like my son gets to watch me build this business from the ground up. Like, how many kids can say that? Like, not many, right? Like, his mom goes into the office in her house, which also a lot of kids can't say. So when I'm between calls, I can go out there, I can have lunch with him, I can spend time with him, right? And I know a lot of people don't have that opportunity. So I'm very grateful for that, as I'm sure you are as well. But again, I also think that it's really important for us to, like I said before, fill our own cup, do what lights us up, but what brings us joy. Because if we don't, then I think a lot of people may get to the point of resenting their children, their family as well, which is something that we never want, right?
Yeah, I just
So
wanted to
yeah,
to
go ahead.
say, sorry, just wanted to say the same thing, that something that I was thinking about just a couple of days ago, that I'm so grateful as well that even if, when I'm working and I take lunch, I can see my daughter if she's with a nanny or with somebody else, or even if she goes to kindergarten, that I can pick her up if she's feeling sick, or if something, she's not happy there, I can just throw everything and kind of go, which my corporate job wouldn't allow me to do. And I think also one of the things that I notice with women is also that a lot of them would say, well, especially if they're in 9 to 5 job, that they, especially moms, they struggle a lot because so say until evening, they're at their job and they have to work. And then when they get home, it's the time where they have to be, moms, they have to be wives, and there is no time for them, because, they cannot take that time during the day, which I'm sure, you can, if you feel like, okay, it's just too much, I want to go, I don't know, just have a facial or a massage or just go out for a walk. And just having our own businesses that allows us to do that. So that's really beautiful.
Yeah, no,
And
I
that's
completely
freedom.
agree. It truly is. Yeah. And I mean, I will be very honest. When I left my 9 to 5, went full time in my job, I was still working like I was in my 9 to 5 because I didn't know any better. So it wasn't until the past maybe 2-ish years, something like that. And I've been doing this for 6 years now. So it took me about 4 years to, to understand that it was okay to stop in the middle of the workday, to go watch a show at 12 o'clock if I want to, or to go for a walk, like you said, or take my son to the park. Like, it's okay to do these things. Like, that's why we created these businesses in the first place, to have that level of freedom. And if anybody's in a 9 to 5 that's listening right now and you are wanting to get out of your job and start your own business or go full time in your own business, I just want to make sure that people understand the reality of it, that there is an adjustment period. And because we are conditioned to work in a 9 to 5, right? Like, that's what society teaches us to do. Go to college, get the job, get married, have the baby, retire when you're 65 or whatever, right? But I love that you were able to create this life of freedom for yourself. Your husband was able to support you in all of that and run the business with you. And I just hope that more women do this for themselves too, because everybody deserves it. Every single person deserves it. So thank you again so much for being here. It was great to have you on. It was great to hear your story. And thank you just for sharing and being really vulnerable and just helping people, because I know that this episode will help women who have been in similar situations. So if anybody wants to connect with you, where is the best place for them to do that?
You can find me on Instagram, and there I share a lot of my stories and my day and my travels and everything, and some business tips. It's Dovile.Sinke. So my on Instagram. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And I will link to that in the show notes as well. She said it much better than I did in the beginning when I completely butchered her last name. So thank you again for being here, Dovile. I had a great time speaking with you.
Thanks a lot for having me here and for this show.